I was navigating a divorce, navigating a new relationship, navigating building a business, and navigating building a business with my partner all at the same time. And it was very challenging. Every failure, every shortcoming, everything you're not good at.
It's the biggest mirror
It
there
is,
is. It's the
and
biggest
it's
mirror
brutal.
there is. Laura Maly started Wonderist Agency with $100 and a kitchen table. No office, no investors, just a vision and a bet on herself. Today, she and her husband and business partner Michael lead one of the country's top dental marketing agencies, earning Inc. 5000 honors 5 years running. But the journey that changed her most was learning her unborn daughter Francie was facing a life-threatening heart condition. That heart condition tested her faith and resilience in ways business never could. Laura, I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for sitting down with me. You're a dear friend of mine. I adore you, and I'm so excited to share your story with our audience.
Thank you. Happy to have you here.
Yes, and we get to be in your office today. Got a little tour, got to see a lot of what I've seen online. It's a beautiful office and beautiful team, so thank you for sharing it with us.
Yeah, my pleasure.
So I'd like to start by giving some context on how you and I know each other. I think a lot of people would be surprised to learn that we are actually direct competitors, but also good friends. And I want to start by kind of talking about how we met. So I think the first time we formally met in person was at Supercharge event.
Oh, yeah, correct. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
And I was like, I'd heard such amazing things about you as a person. And I was like, I'm going to go introduce myself and say hello. And I went over there and I think I hugged you and said, I've just, know about you and just wanted to say hello and introduce myself. And we chatted a little bit, but didn't really delve in too much at that time. But then over time, as we saw each other in person and chatted online and kind of connected online, we developed a friendship and got to know each other a little bit. And obviously my respect grew for you from there. So I admire you in so many ways, but especially your story and journey of what you've been through, not just in building Wondrous, but with your family and as a mom. So we also have a lot of similarities and parallels in our backgrounds. We both come from big brand advertising, working on really big Fortune 500 brands, and sort of happened into dentistry. You built your business at the kitchen table.
Yeah.
And I built mine in my kids' playroom at a desk. Yeah. So let's take us back to the beginning of kind of how you got into dentistry, when the seed was really planted and the call was placed on your heart to begin building something from scratch.
Yeah, I have a background in Fortune 500, like you've mentioned, working for Kohl's, working for General Motors, working on Sony Pictures Entertainment. And I think one of the very early realizations I had, I kind of went agency, corporate, back and forth and toggled in there. And I learned very quickly, I am not a corporate girly.
Yeah.
It is not for me.
Yeah.
I thrive much more when I'm in a creative environment, even though I don't think I'm an inherently creative person, in all honesty.
I would disagree with that, but go ahead.
And so I think I just enjoyed the energy, the vibe, the dedication, the fun that was happening in the agency environment much more heavily. I will tell you outright, hot take, I guess, Kohl's and Sony Pictures Entertainment, not it for me. Worst jobs I ever had. Best jobs I ever had outside of Wonderist were at Deutsch, which was like one of my earliest exposures, huge agency, and with a very formerly prolific personality at the top of it that had quite a bit of culture. And that was just like this eye-opening experience to me. I was young in my 20s, just moved to LA. The world was my oyster. It just felt amazing. And I was working on General Motors at the height of the crash. And so there goes that job real fast. And so I was hunting in search of the next one like that. And it took me a minute to roll through another corporate job to realize it was the worst, but it was the economic downturn. And so, beggars can't be choosers. And then I finally ended up in San Francisco at an agency called Swirl. And we're smaller at the time. They're part of a bigger organization now, a part of McGarry Bowen, I believe. And it was just the best. And so many of the elements of Wonderist have been seeded through my experiences at Swirl, at Deutsch, and so much of that culture has been brought here. And so when was the seed sown for Wonderist? I think it's probably slightly less of a light bulb moment than I think the soundbite would prefer it to be. But I think I knew I was never a corporate girly. I knew that I did not take direction well, and I did not want to
A pleasure to have in class.
Yes,
right?
yeah, that's exactly it.
She's a pleasure to have in class.
And I think I was always really likable, but not, I did not want to do things in an outdated way. And I always want to be like, well, this is boring. What if I just did it this way? It's faster. And I think an agency just has a more adaptable mindset to that kind of thing. And so that's where I thrived. And so I think maybe in the back of my head, I always knew there was something in an agency or entrepreneurship for me, but I never set out to be like, business ownership is for me,
Yeah,
right?
same.
This is what I want.
Same.
And then I happened into dentistry. I was working for Sony Pictures Entertainment. Like I said, sounds really glamorous. I was on the lot. I got to see famous people all the time. Got to go to the premieres. Worked on really cool movies, Skyfall, Bond stuff. Like, yeah. My most exciting two were Sandler and oh my God, why can't I think of his name? SNL guy also worked with Sandler all the time. Andy Samberg.
Oh, huh.
And so at one point, like I was in an out-of-home office meeting and it was just me and this girl and I heard this voice that I recognized. So I like leaned back in my chair out of the doorway to see who it was. And at the same time, Andy Samberg leaned back in his chair to see who was in the office. And so we both leaned back and we both were like, and then leaned forward again. And that was it. I was like, oh my God. And
That is such a cool story.
so I forever will be a fan of his. I think he's very funny. And so it was fun for those like iconic moments, but really in the day to day, it was very much a slog for me and I did not like it. And so I was happy to have escaped that. And Paco, who was our first client, he's a dentist. He had called me and he said, hey, like, I know you have a job. Could you do for the big companies? Could you do that for me, even though I'm a dentist in a small community in Albuquerque? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, well, I don't have enough money to pay you. But we could just like screw around and see if it worked. I was like, oh yeah, like let's try it out. And so it turned out that he was a great businessman, fabulous entrepreneur, great clinical dentist. And I was able to make the phone ring. And so on it went and he opened 3 practices in rapid succession and then referred me to a couple friends of his. And so I had maybe like 3 or 4 clients and it wasn't at all what it is today. Yeah. It was me quarterbacking a lot of project management. And so at that time in dental marketing, everything was very siloed. So you had your SEO guy, you had your paid ads guy, you had your website company, you had your maybe somebody doing your direct mailers or your TV and radio placement if you were doing that still.
Yeah, I remember those days.
And then there was no consolidated point of contact. And then there was nobody there to like advocate for the benefit of the doctor, meaning no direct mail guy is going to look at you and be like, oh, the direct mail's not working. They'll be like, well, let's spend more and try other things. Right. And so there was no advocate acting on behalf of the doctor. And so that's what I was doing. I knew enough of how to do and place many of those things. Maybe I didn't know how to build them. I didn't know how to run a photo shoot, but I knew enough to be dangerous to get what I wanted, to get everybody the materials they needed. And so that was working well. Yeah.
Because when everything is compartmentalized like that and siloed, there's no strategy driving it. And that's a lot, you've heard me speak, that's a lot of what I speak about. Yeah.
And so how do you consolidate all of that, consolidate the messaging, consolidate the assets, and then roll out this unified programmatic methodology? Yeah. And so we did that. It was successful. We did it for other practices. It was successful. And then when I met, I was doing that. And at that time I had a couple clients. I was making some coin, but not like West Side of LA coin. Mm-hmm. And I was previously married and I had an opportunity to move to Japan with my now ex-husband. And so between that and then teaching yoga in Tokyo, 12 classes a week, I was like making an okay living. And
did not know you taught yoga in Tokyo.
I sure did.
See, learn
True
something
stories
about my friend every day.
And so I was there working on Wonderist and these couple of clients, and I was there teaching yoga, and my marriage fell apart while I was there. And for many reasons that we are both accountable to, lovely man, not the right time or the place. I came back to LA and it was right before Christmas. And did you not know this story? I'm like,
no, I knew about the marriage. Yeah. Because we bonded over that as well.
Yes. Yeah. And so I got back to LA and I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, it's almost Christmas. I'm just going to go home. Yeah. And so I left LA, went home to Wisconsin, tried to get my act together, tried to start formulating a plan. Because I'm like, Laura, you have no job, you have no marriage. Like, you got to start over and make a plan because I can't sustain myself individually on these 3 clients on the west side of LA.
And I think the best chapters are born from those moments.
And so I would say the best chapters are born from a lot of alcohol and
That too.
The best, and a mentality that the best way to get over someone is to get under someone else. And so it's terrible. That's very unhealthy. I'm teasing. I'm being sarcastic. But
That's really funny, you guys.
that's how I ended up meeting Michael. I went out with some friends, and I was out at a restaurant, and I saw Michael, and he captured my attention, and I captured his, and we exchanged business cards, and he texted me right away.
Did you know? Do you think you knew in that moment?
I knew when I realized we were both adopted that this was a very
Yeah, I forgot
interesting,
about that.
that this was going to be very interesting for me. And so like we were just texting back and forth, and he told me to order the octopus in Wisconsin in December. Said it was excellent. And I was like, bro, I just got back from Japan. Like, I doubt it.
Nice try.
I ordered it. It was horrible. And so
Michael, fail.
and so, but we were texting that evening, and then when we both realized we were both adopted, it became a very interesting dynamic because there was shared stories to be shared there. It's very unusual for somebody to know and be in touch with their biological families. We both knew our biological families. We were both heavily in touch with them. And so it was fun to unpack something so intimate to my life with someone else and have them very deeply identify with that experience. And so we were pinging back and forth, and suffice to say, we ended up getting together, and it was sort of a love at first sight situation. That's a great story for a glass of wine another day. But the upshot is he immediately was like, I totally see what you're doing here. And he had been working for an insurance company in their Skunk Works division, like rolling out new business models to collect patient data under the Obama administration had limited people's access to like get and mine for data information about people with pre-existing conditions. And so he was trying to mine for pre-existing condition data through spinning off all these businesses, which was actually fairly interesting and fun in itself. And he's like, part of solving a problem or founding a business is solving a problem. And he's like, you have a good problem.
Yeah.
This is a really good problem you're solving. He's like, I think I can do all the stuff that you can't do. And I think you can do all the stuff that I can't do. We should work on this together. To which everyone in our family was like, terrible choice. Do not do this. Yeah. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Like, do not recommend. We started working on Wonderist within 4 days of knowing each other. Mm-hmm. And he and I were just like, okay, we're going to continue to iterate on this. And so he was working his job, and we were doing it like nights and weekends. And then I'd spend the day working on whatever projects we had outlined, because that was my full-time job at that point as I was navigating my divorce. And I had a little bit of alimony on my side, which was great. And that was the runway that we needed to make things work. And then that was in December. By spring, I was just itching to get back to him because he was in Milwaukee and I was in LA. And so I was like, well, I'm just going to go home for the summer and heal, and I'll stay with Michael in his condo downtown, and we'll just have a great summer together. And we did. We worked on the business. We landed our first few clients together over the summer. It was awesome. We had a great time. But at the end of the summer, I was like, this is like, I love Milwaukee. It's where I'm from. It's where he's from. It's where our families are, but it's just not for me. And so I was like, I want to go back to LA. And I was like, you could come with me. And he was like, all right. So we moved out to LA at the end of the summer. And at that point, it just so happened that he had gotten laid off from his job.
Okay.
And so we had a little bit of alimony and a little bit of severance. Yeah. And that was the gateway that led us to have the time, but the clock was ticking to have the business up and running by the time those ran out. Yeah. And so we did it by the skin of our teeth. The very first check we wrote, which was $333 each, was like the richest I ever felt. And we went out and we spent all that money the same night. We went out to a nice dinner.
Would you just dinner?
Yeah, we just went to a fancy dinner. And because we kind of had a sustainable model at that point, so we knew it was responsible celebration. Yeah. And that was that. And so like the first couple hires were all of our friends. Yeah. And we worked out of a condo in LA, and then we kind of both wanted to move on from LA, and Michael suggested San Diego. So we went down to San Diego, and I did not want to at first, but I'm very happy we did. And within a day I was on board, and we set up shop down here, and the rest is history.
Yeah, it's the most beautiful love story I've ever heard personally.
Oh, it's
like a Disney movie.
It's a good one.
Kind of like it. So now that we know the love story behind it, since then, what has it been like on this journey, building this together with your partner, your husband, the father of your kids? I look around and I see like this tribe that you've made. It's really beautiful. Like you've got people, just this huge support network, and people that you support as well. And it's really a community. It's beautiful. What has that journey been like? And what do you think, how do you think it's contributed maybe to your growth as a person?
I was navigating a divorce, navigating a new relationship, navigating building a business, and navigating building a business with my partner all at the same time. So it was probably, I would say, manageable, but probably not the healthiest. And it was very challenging. And I think when you're starting a business, and you know this like anybody else, it's just like you have to hold your mirror up to yourself every single day. Every failing, every failure, every shortcoming, everything you're not good at.
It's the biggest mirror
It
there
is.
is. It's the
And
biggest
it's
mirror
brutal.
there is. It's
Yeah.
brutal.
And especially in those early days, like you don't get to a divorce without some sort of self-doubt and self-reflection.
Yeah.
And so grappling with that and then grappling with the pleasures and failures that come with starting a business and grinding it out and then navigating a new relationship, it was a lot.
Did you ever struggle with thoughts of, am I truly capable of seeing this to fruition?
Well, I still am like that.
Okay, I was going to say,
Yeah,
I
the
definitely.
doubt never leaves.
Yeah, no, it
Yeah,
doesn't.
it just changes.
Yeah. But I think it goes back to what we are talking about at breakfast, that surrender of detachment, of being able to say, I'm showing up as my best every day, even if I can't control the outcome.
Yeah.
And I'm letting God guide my steps,
Yeah.
right? And so, yeah. So you've built something really amazing here. I mean, 5 years running Inc. 5000. You're the most reputable marketing agency in dentistry, I would say. At that time, could you even envision where you are today or where the company is?
Not at the very beginning. Like I think at the beginning it was just like, how do I survive, right? How do I make it to like pay the mortgage
bills.
and the
Yes.
car payment and the whatever. And then I think once we really got to San Diego and we started like actually having some of our original hires going through, then you were like, oh, I see the capacity here. I see what we're able to do. And if we just captured 1% of the marketplace, like it could be incredible. And so as that momentum started to gain, and I would say as we transitioned into this space that we're still in today, that was really the very beginning of like, okay, I see where this could be. I could see the potential. But even still, I mean, if you ask me, 5 years ago, if I ever thought we'd get to 100 people and 1,200 clients, and I'd be like, maybe, yeah, that'd be great, but I'm not going to count on it.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it's really beautiful what you
thank
built.
you.
So, in addition to having 1,200 clients, 100 people, it's like those numbers are great on paper, but there's just something really special about Wonderist, I think. And when I was coming up with my business model for Transcendental, funny enough, I studied Wonderist a lot because I was like, these seem to be doing it right. Like, that's the kind of team culture I want to build. That's the kind of leader I want to be. And so, before I even met you, like, I admired you big time. Like, yeah. And so, how do you think who you are and maybe who Michael is has impacted or sort of shaped the kind of culture you have here at Wonderist? And what do you think makes it so special?
We always want to do right by our people. We want to do right by our clients. And we will often do what we feel is right, even in the face of people telling us that's not what we should do. And I think if we've always approached things with the lens of like, we just have to be ourselves. And if we are ourselves, then we're going to always get the best result because we're never operating from a place outside of like what we feel is best for the organization, the clients, the team, the individual.
And whatever I talked about this on my last podcast episode, like whatever you embody is what you're going to magnetize to you,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
And so it's like, if you're just being yourselves and living in your authenticity, then you're going to attract team members that naturally resonate with that, right? And then from there, that's where it grows. So
one of the things that Michael and I often, it's like, I've never done this. I've never run a business before. I
say
don't
that all
know.
the time.
I'm like,
say that all the
you're
time.
looking at me for the answer, and I don't know that I have it. Like, I have tools to hopefully get us to a good answer, but like, I don't inherently know the answer to everything all the time. This is my first time doing this too.
Moving on from Wonderist in your career for a little bit, motherhood is also a big part of your identity. We both are moms to 3. Your kids are adorable, so sweet. Talk to me a little bit about entering into motherhood. Like, how did that change, sort of how you show up in leadership or how you approach life in general?
I had 2 false starts at motherhood. I had 2 miscarriages back to
I
back.
didn't know that.
And so one in the fall, one in the spring, and then got pregnant again in the spring, and then that one stuck. And so I think it was kind of a rocky start because I think there was a lot of questioning, like, is it me? What's going on? And when you want something that badly, to have it not go well, not once but twice, is really catastrophic. funnily enough, the second miscarriage was a tougher miscarriage, and it happened over the first dental show we had ever committed to going to. And so it was Chicago midwinter. It was February. And like we knew I was going to miscarry. We knew it was not going to be totally straightforward. And then I had to say, bye, Michael. Have a great weekend. And like miscarry baby by myself. Well, his mother was there, but like on my own, literally. And that was like pretty rough. But you know, what are you gonna do? There's nothing I can do. You just have to get through it. And so I remember having a conversation with one of our clients who's just like kind of an unlikely spot to get advice from in that moment. He's just like a gentle, just this handsome, gentle soul. And he's out of Bluffton, South Carolina. It's been our client since, I don't know, probably over a decade at this point. And I happened to be on the phone with him and I explained what was going on. And he just was like, Laura, you're going to get the family you want. You just need to be a little more patient. When it's supposed to show up, it will show up and it will be the right thing. And I really took that to heart and that always stayed with me. And now that's a piece of advice that I tried to give when that happened. Yeah, other women when that happens. But it was just such an unlikely person to have delivered it to me. And I just really savored that. I liked it a lot. But I think that's probably, you know, a great test of resilience in many ways. And I think when you're a business owner, like every day is a test of resilience. Yeah. And facing your demons and learning from them and not taking it all in stride. And so I think it was a very rough few months, but it was something that was recovered from. And I knew when the time was right, it was going to be fine. And it was.
And so when Wilder was conceived and you knew the pregnancy was viable, what did that feel like for you?
I mean, it was just exciting. You're giddy, right? But after 2 failed attempts, you're kind of in this chronic,
anxious.
Yeah, you're in this chronic state of like, will it go the way I want it to go? Will it be okay? And I think once I was over halfway done, I was like, okay, I think I can let go of that. I can be free of that anxiety and we'll get where we need to go. And Wilder was born 6 weeks before the pandemic.
Well,
so he was.
You have not had a break at this point. She has not had a break at this point.
Nobody, I mean, but this is life, right? Like everybody's got their something. And so we had this little baby at home but it was such a great time. Like, I mean, for as horrible as that chapter was for the entire world, there was something really sacred and special about getting to be home with him every single day. And so we were, you know, plucking it out, working at the kitchen table and he was next to us and it was great. And we had this cool like 70s style house and we had a great little pool in the back and hot tub. And so, you know, we'd work all day and make a little dinner and then head out to the hot tub and we'd set him up in his little chair and we'd have a beer at the end of the night. And it just was like awesome. So it was very special. I think just in general, during the beginning of the pandemic, I think the world softens, right? The world goes on high alert, but in a moment like that, you sort of have to soften into what's happening and into the chaos and the gravity and the sadness of all of it. And so I think it was just, you know, first time mother, you're softened by that. Global pandemic, you're softened by that. And so it was just like a very squishy, lovely, homebound time that I think of very like fondly.
Yeah. And you know, there's something so special about that season with the first baby, that the bond, how that strengthens your bond in marriage and like in a way a layer of each other you didn't know yet, and then you get to kind of fall in love all over again. You're like, it's really a special time. So thanks for sharing that. So then you have 2 more girls. After that, Shiloh's my favorite. Don't tell the other 2. Shiloh is a pistol.
She is.
And when you decide to have Francie, I'm sure you weren't expecting what was coming, right?
No. Yes. Life altering.
So you're pregnant with Francie, and during your pregnancy, she's diagnosed with this heart condition.
Yes.
Talk to me about that moment.
Yeah. So Michael and I, in a declarative moment, said we never spent any time together during the work week. Let's go make something of this 30-week ultrasound, which they kind of demand when you're an old lady having a baby in the state of California. And so while it is unusual to have a 30-week ultrasound, it is not unusual for an older woman who's geriatric to have a 30-week ultrasound in the state of California.
I like to say advanced, not geriatric.
That's right. I am of advanced maternal age.
She's not geriatric.
And so we went to breakfast in the morning at this cute little pastry shop in La Jolla, went for a walk on the at La Jolla Cove to see the sea lions and the birds. And it was just like this perfect little morning. We're like, we never get this. This is so wonderful. Head to the doctor's office. and sit down in the little room. And, this is like the dog and pony show we're very aware of. We've done this with 2 other kids. Like, we know what's going to happen next. And the ultrasound tech sits down with us, all positive, super cute. Her name is Serena. We still talk to her. And Serena starts scanning, and then she just suddenly goes very quiet. And she's still working, but she's very fixated. The chitter chatter has ceased. And she said, I'm gonna have to excuse myself for just a minute. I'll be right back. And then
Ooh, yeah.
45 minutes passes.
Yeah.
And Michael and I are just, you're stewing. The sweating starts, the shakes start. You're starting to be, what's going on? And I could still feel him moving in there. So I was like, okay, I know that he's alive. And we could see the heartbeat on the screen. And she came back, and she had a doctor on her cell phone, which, that's no bueno. And so she was like, I need to explain to you what I'm seeing. And she had written down on a half a sheet of paper a couple of terms, which I had trouble pronouncing and understanding. And I think at that point, you're kind of having an out-of-body experience. Like, I'm sort of watching myself from above receive the information. I see her, I hear her, I'm not ingesting anything, right? And your ears kind of do that thing where you can't hear anything, but you're like, it's like sounds like the peanuts carrying wah, 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 wah. What the upshot was that Serena was in there. It just so happened that she has a background in fetal cardiac ultrasounds. And so we had the right tech at the right time. And she had just come in from CHOP, which is Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, which is hands down the best children's hospital in America. And she was just the right woman for the job for this diagnosis. And so she came in, she wrote everything down. She had the neonatologist on the phone. The neonatologist said, I'm 10 out of 10 concerned about the life of your baby. We need to get you to a fetal cardiologist immediately. Turned out that the fetal cardiologist happened to be in the neonatal office that day, even though that's not where she practices. She's like brought coffee in for people, and they had her look at the scans while we were sitting in the room and didn't know it until later. And they had already figured out what was going on. And we got in with her a day later, but they said to us, do not Google anything. Do not look online. You just go home. You have these words, you sit with them. We'll figure out the rest later. And honestly, I think that was really good advice, to be honest. And so we went to the fetal cardiologist the next day, and they basically said, we're 10 out of 10 concerned. We don't think your baby is going to make it to term. If she does make it to term, there's a likelihood that she will only be alive for a few minutes, few hours, maybe a couple days. If you're incredibly lucky, we could maybe get her to a heart transplant, but a heart transplant takes about 6 to 12 months to get for a baby. They're the size of a walnut, and they usually come from a pool drowning. So you're waiting for somebody else's greatest tragedy to become your life-saving mechanism, right?
Try reconciling with that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so, but because of the nature of these baby transplants, there's a lot of risk while you're in that waiting period for heart attack and stroke.
Okay.
And so they were like, we need to move you into sort of the next chapter of what this is going to look like. And it was a lot of scans, a lot of blood work, a lot of monitoring, a lot of appointments. But I will say I'm so impressed with the hospital system and how they supported us during all of this. And they kind of send you down multiple tracks. We got sent down the palliative care track so that they prepared us for all those outcomes. And you do all this pre-planning. So here you are with this baby in your belly that's moving, and you're sitting here, in essence, planning their life-saving mechanisms.
Right.
When you get to delivery. The second track is sort of this, we're going to live in a wait and watch zone of this baby may live, but in what capacity will they live? Will it be a high or low quality of life? And then there's the third track, which is the heart transplant track. And so they kind of shoot you down all three of these paths. And there's a structure in place to start to sensitize these to-be mothers and the fathers about, like, what will this look like? What will it feel like? Let me walk you through the CTICU. And they walk you through, and they explain, they have baby dolls with all the cords on the baby dolls. And they're showing you, here's what this cord does. And here's what this, okay, now we're going to walk through the CTICU and see if you can find this cord, and see if you can find that cord, and see if you can see a baby with this cord. And it was really helpful. Like, the first time you walk through, it's one of these wah, 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 where you're like, you're so overwhelmed with the tragedy sitting in this cardiac intensive care unit, and these little tiny faces and these little tiny bodies who are clearly in stress. But the second time you walk through, it's interesting. Your whole lens changes. You've learned a little more, and you realize that so much of what's happening in there is not tragedy, it's hope.
Yeah.
And so I remember looking at this like we walked by the first time we went through, and I remember looking at this like perfectly adorable newborn baby with nothing hooked up to it. And that's unusual in the CTICU. And I was like, oh, well, maybe that will be what Francie's like, right? And in hindsight, I'm like, I think that was a baby that was healing. I think that was a baby that was there, that was maybe getting ready to go somewhere else because he or she was on his own. And so you start to change the framework of how you look at things.
So you were able to find some hope and optimism.
Yeah.
at
And,
that
and I
point.
think you don't have a lot of choice, right? I think there comes this critical moment where you get a diagnosis like this and you have a choice to say, I can let this destroy me, or I can let this change me and empower me and create new opportunity for myself, my spouse, my family, my children, whatever. And we had to do that. Like I wasn't going to choose the shitty route. I was going to choose the better route, right? So how do we find this and turn it into something that means something to our children, to us, to whatever lens we choose to apply it in life? And so I think Michael and I kind of came together, and I remember us having a moment and saying we can choose to let this break us,
Yeah.
or we can choose to let this galvanize us and use it for good, no matter the outcome.
Yeah, because these are the kinds of things in a marriage that make or break you.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Some people will not get through it. Yeah. So the fact that you guys openly had that conversation is huge. And I agree with you on the sentiment of when something like this happens, having the perspective to be able to look at it and say, how can I grow from this versus letting it destroy me? Totally agree with that.
Yeah.
Was there ever a moment during this time frame where it was like, why God? Like any anger or like
No, I think I understand that. And if another parent had that reaction, I would totally understand it. It just wasn't, it's not me. It's just not how I'm built. I'm not I'm not a why me person.
Yeah.
And so it makes a lot of sense to me. It's just not how I process things.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't prefer it. Nobody prefers it, but like to me, I kind of look at life like a roller coaster, right? There's ups, there's downs. People get on the ride, they get off the ride. And like we were talking at breakfast about non-attachment, aparigraha, one of the sutras, and I think I took a very non-attachment lens. I'm like, I don't have a choice in the matter. I'm on the ride. The ride's going to be whatever the ride chooses to be, and I have to embrace it or not. And so, like, I'm going to choose to embrace it. I'm going to choose to get what I can out of it, and I'm going to let it change my life in the best way possible. And I think Michael and I had a very good conversation in that same moment where it was like, we're going to let this galvanize us. We're going to let it mean something. And no matter what the outcome, we will be okay.
Yeah.
We chose it. We chose it in advance, and we talked about it all the time.
Committed to it.
Yes.
Yeah. I love that. Made it a plan. And I'm reading this book called Conversations with God. And one of the lines I've loved so far, it says, God is in the profane and the profound.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you have to be willing to see the miracle of life in even the darkest places.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're missing the point.
Yep.
And so from there, once you understand, like at this point, you've gone through this sort of CE on
Sure, yeah.
essentially what happens next and sort of what were the fears or the hopes at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I think our best case scenario was that I would deliver and we would get a few minutes with her if she lived. That was the biggest decision we had to make was, I guess, sorry, this is like probably a little too graphic for our podcast here, but if I chose a C-section delivery, which probably would have been safest for her, I would have been hung up in the hospital and not able to leave. And she would have had to leave to go to the children's hospital. And so if she died at the hospital, there would have been a very likely chance I never would have seen her. Mm-hmm. So then the level of like minor decision making you have to make is like Michael and I said, if she's going to pass and I am not with her, will Michael FaceTime me or will he just be present? Oh. And so that was like, we said he's going to be present and not going to FaceTime me. Like we're just going to let him focus on having her have end of life with him. And so I have not talked about this. And so that was really difficult. But I think the thing that was interesting about it is I loved all the pre-planning of it because it let us figure out what the best route was. And so ultimately we decided I'm going to do a traditional vaginal delivery because I'd done it twice before. My body knew what to do. I was on a mission and I was like very heavily focused on trying to get get Francie out safely as fast as I possibly could so that we could get her what she needed. But I also preserved the option of being with her if she did only last a few minutes or a few hours. And so I was glad we chose that. I will say I was an animal in that delivery.
Oh, I
I
believe
did my
it.
job. And they had told us, they said she's probably going to come out blue, limp, lifeless. We'll probably have to resuscitate to some extent. We had given them directives on what we wanted there. But she came out and she was pink and screaming.
Yeah.
And so that was an awesome surprise. And we had
What was that relief? Like, were you just like flooded with?
it wasn't relief.
Okay.
It was and it wasn't, like, because you kind of didn't know what was going to happen next. It felt very like surreal. I'm pretty sure I was sobbing, I was shaking, and like I was trying so hard to hold her up, but I was like heaving so hard that and she was like stuck on my chest. And we had 25, you could have put risers up in my delivery room. We had so many people across so many hospital systems in there supporting us. But it was transcendent in a weird way, because it was like, you're here, you're alive, but I don't know for how long,
Yeah.
right? And so we negotiated a minute. I snuggled her for a minute. They took her to evaluate her and have the NICU team like get prepared to resuscitate if they needed to. And so Michael was with her across the room. I'm finishing delivering, and the OB, who happens to be my next door neighbor's college roommate, which we found out all these like weird little fun facts along the way, she starts going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," which like you don't want to hear when this is happening. And I was like, what? Right? Like, and I knew it was me that was the problem, not the baby, thankfully.
Yeah, I want to hear it's fine, we're fine,
Right.
everything's
Yeah.
fine.
And she was, look at this. And she holds up my cord, and there's a huge knot in the cord. And she goes, it's called a true knot. That's a technical term. She goes, it's a true knot. It's a true knot. And I'm like, what? And she goes, this is fetal demise. This is fetal demise. So not only did Francie make it through all of that, she also had a knot in her cord almost the entire pregnancy because of where the placement was on the cord.
There is nothing this girl won't
It's
be able to
a
do.
miracle. It is a miracle. And so like that to me was like the double down on like, if you weren't a believer, I will make you one.
Yeah.
And that was like kind of an unbelievable transcendent moment that we almost never talk about in our like family, and we don't talk about often like outwardly.
Yeah.
So it was kind of incredible. And then she was stable, and they were expecting to take her to Rady, which is our children's hospital, and move her over. And they were so stable. She was so stable they didn't need to. And the NICU physician we happened to know the NICU supervisor the day she was born. I know nobody in the medical industry. And she's like, well, let me bring the doctor up, which they do not do. And the doctor came in and he's like, I'm very motivated for you to have a positive outcome. I lost my son to heart failure as a baby. And so he was the one that advocated. He said, I will watch them. I'm here the next 3 days. I will watch this baby. And if she like starts to lose momentum, we'll move her to the children's hospital. So I got to be with her. Michael got to be with her for the first 4 days of life while she was just getting monitored in the NICU. Her heart was dramatically underperforming, but she was somehow finding a way.
Yeah. And so at that point, did the conversation start about what the road ahead looked like?
Yes. So they kind of had told us that the cardiac clinic is very choice with their words because they don't want to overpromise things and misspeak on outcomes. And so the only, which I understand completely, the only sort of fast facts they would give us is they said 50% of kids like Francie will get a heart transplant before the age of 5. That was the one fast fact. The second fast fact was 10% of these kids pass away.
Okay.
10% of these kids get heart transplants. And 80% sit in this murky middle, watch and wait for their whole life until we have to make a decision. And so she was stable, but she was not on any medications or anything like that at that point. And we knew at that point, like maybe she was going to end up in that 80% because her heart wasn't so in immediate need of like a transplant that we needed to list right away, though we could have, and we would have been prepared to, that we had to just kind of wait and watch. We're in a sort of watchful waiting position, which we stayed in for quite a while.
I remember, I think we were at maybe DEO, was it last year where she had her tube finally pulled out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to tell everybody a little bit about like what quality of life looked like for her maybe the first year or two?
Yeah, it was pretty rough. She had her first month of life at home, which we were not expecting. We were expecting her to just stay in the hospital until they could transplant her. And so after 4 days, they're like, did you guys want to take her home? And we were like, we didn't know we had a choice, but yes, we will. Yeah. Is she gonna live if we take her home? Yeah. I was like, yeah, it'll be fine. And so after a month, she was having a ton of trouble eating. Cardiac kids can't stay awake to eat. That's their exercise. And so the heart wears them out because when you're eating, that's a baby's cardio. And so they get too tired and they can't finish their meal. And then what happens, and we talked about this at breakfast, cardiac kids get their blood flow to their major organs first. So that's the blood, the brain, the heart, and the lungs. And then everything else kind of is secondary. And so what that means then is that the blood flow does not go to the intestines to help digest the food or the milk. And so cardiac kids have a lot of vomiting.
Okay.
And so Francie was really struggling to eat consistently. So she was having failure to thrive. And then on top of that, if she did eat, she would chronically throw up.
Right.
And when you want to be on heart medication, you have to keep a minimum level of hydration at any given time. Otherwise, you have the threat of additional organ failure or damage. And so we're like, we don't need another failed organ on our hands here. And so Francie ended up getting a tube in her nose. It's called an NG tube. And it's taped to your cheek and it snakes up your nose, down into your belly. And a machine or a syringe pumps food into it over a paced amount of time. And that beep will never leave my head ever. If you hear it in a restaurant, if we go to like Disney World, you hear a lot of food pumps because they're so kind to special needs families. So you hear it and it would just perk you up. You're like, who's got the food pump? And our lives were ruled by it. It's very noisy. It's very annoying. And then our lives were also ruled by her vomiting. And so she would poltergeist style projectile vomit 3 to 7 times a day.
Yeah.
I don't know, 3 to 7 times a day. So you're cleaning that up chronically. She was always just soaking wet, hair matted, because you bathe her and then it just happened again. So you kind of just concede and you live with a Chuck's mat underneath her. And it was joyful in many ways because we had her, which was such a pleasure. And she was growing, she was getting bigger. Like the methodology was working. They said, get her as fat as humanly possible. And then in 6 months, we're going to try and shoot to fix some of her issues with an open heart surgery. And so, our life was very tiring at that point, I think is probably the best way to put it. We had a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn. And a newborn on a food pump whose life was ruled by meds and puking and a food pump. And it
Were
just
you
was,
sleeping at all?
yeah, weirdly, yes. I mean, I think the saving grace was that when we got Francie's diagnosis, immediately our family sprung into action. We didn't have anybody here besides my brother-in-law to help support us. We're kind of on our own on an island here. And within a few days of her diagnosis, there was a incredible schedule of our family taking turns over a 6-month time frame, who would just not even one day would pass before the next family member would show up. So they'd come stay for 2 weeks and then the next family members would tag in. And so between
Beautiful.
Michael's parents, my parents, and then his biological parents and my biological father and his wife, we pieced together 6 months straight of people living with us.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the most joyful times we've ever had. It was so fun, so fulfilling, so relaxing. But you're also trying to run a business, right? Which you kind of forget about.
Honestly, during this entire process, I forget that you have that going on in the background.
And so
Yeah.
that was it was a really special time. And I think,
And I'm sure your team really stepped up.
oh, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I would also give kudos to the Anderson family, which is Kennedy, who's in the room with us here today, and her sister Cammie, and their mom Carolyn, who were our main day-to-day resource team, just helping us live. And so we could not have done it without the 3 of them. We could not have done it without our family. No way, no how. And I think the glory of it now is everybody is universally bonded for life.
Yeah. And in seasons like this, a mom tends to become a martyr. Did you lose yourself in all of it for a little bit? Did you how did you make sure you were restored and you were okay during all of this?
I don't think I did.
Okay.
I'll be candid and say I'm probably a little too selfish for that.
That's okay.
I think I know, I just know what my own limits are. I'm somebody who I need silence, I need privacy, I need independence. And so I think our family really helped me have that.
Yeah.
So it's do you need to go take a nap? Yes. Do you need to go take a walk? Yes. Do you need to go get a pedicure or get your nails done or go get some fresh air or go out with a friend and watch a movie? Yes. They gave me a lot of that autonomy. And I think the life and lifestyle we built let us do that.
Yeah.
And
that's crucial for keeping yourself whole so that you can show up whole for Francie.
Yes.
Right?
And I didn't ever really say no. So if somebody offered, I said yes.
Good
and
for
I
you.
think I think that's a great lesson for anyone who's becoming a mom, who's going through a tragedy, who's navigating a difficult situation. At that point, like somebody asked us, can I put a meal train together for you? And normally I'd be like, no, no. And I was like, yes, thank you. It was awesome. I was just so nice. And like, I couldn't believe how kind and generous and attentive people in our life were that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
And that was probably one of the greatest surprises. And I also want to mention the team, like the day that Francie got her diagnosis, we also came to the office right away and we sat everybody down and we explained where we were at. And we were like, we're going to go for a while. We'll be back. And they all were like, you got it.
Yeah.
And they just handled things. And it was
Love it.
amazing.
My team's the same way.
And it was
Same way.
a godsend.
So during this whole season with Francie, you're focused on motherhood. You've got the business kind of operating in the background. It's a lot of weight. Would you say that shaped your relationship with yourself and God in any way? Like how did those things evolve within you, sort of those inner relationships?
I think we talked about this a little bit, but I've in my faith checked all the boxes, right? I'm baptized, I'm confirmed, I went to Sunday school, I would occasionally go to church. And then, in your 20s, you kind of, and maybe I'm alone, maybe I'm not, like, just let that go for a while
No,
to
same.
do other exploration and don't make it a priority. And I think when everything happened with Francie, there was just sort of this call back to, I need to get my priorities straight. I need to put this in the center of my life.
Yeah.
And so it did take us a while. Like I think Michael is from a religious household. He has an incredible depth of knowledge of the Bible and of his faith, and it's very admirable, as does his parents. And so I've had a great example, though I hadn't deployed the example at that point. And so I think for me, one of the moments was realizing, okay, we get the ability to have Francie and keep her. And I've seen what you can do, what you've done for her. And to me, the knot in the cord was really the kicker. I was like, she is a miracle.
Almost like a message, right?
Oh, there's no mistaking what has been shown to me.
Yeah, yeah.
And so now I need to answer the call. And so it took us a little longer than I'll speak for myself. It took me a little longer than I would have wanted to get us to a church and going consistently and finding community. But we have now done that. And ironically, we go to the church that's a quarter mile down the street. So it wouldn't have been that hard. We just didn't do it. And so I'm very pleased that we are a part of that community now. I'm very pleased that our children are getting exposure to a great church community. And that one of our daughters goes to preschool there, and it's just unbelievable. And so that has been a huge piece of, I think, my healing and reconciliation of everything. And I really love going there. Even when I drop Shiloh off for school in the morning, I just feel joyful to go there and do a drop off,
Yeah.
So.
That's so beautiful. And I think it's setting the foundation for the kids too, of like not necessarily the church component, but just how your faith changed during our season of life. So when they go through their hard season, and they will, Francie's kind of already gone through hers, but everybody goes through their hard season, they will know, okay, mom and dad went through a season like this, and how did they handle it, right? And it really gives them that foundation. So I love that. And so how's Francie doing today?
Well, she's getting over the flu today, but she is doing really well. So she's supported by 3 oral medications daily. She has low normal heart function, which is kind of wild, to have gone from where we were to where we are. And she will probably need a transplant in her life. She will need a transplant in her life. But I think at this rate, the hope is maybe not till her 20s or 30s.
And she'll have to stay on the medication until...
Yeah, she'll be on medication for the rest of her life.
Okay.
Whether that is the heart medications or the anti-rejection drugs that come with a transplant.
And what would you say to maybe another woman who is facing a similar, it could be the miscarriage or a health crisis with their child? Any advice that you want to give other moms facing sort of that dark time right now?
I think see if you can find a way to detach yourself from the moment, which sounds very difficult to do. And if you can detach yourself, not from the person, not from the love, not from the emotions, but from the control of the outcome, then I think you will find yourself in a happier, more stable, less anxious place.
Yeah.
There's just only so much you can control as an individual. And if you can't control it, then don't worry about it, because there's nothing you can do. And I think if you are thinking to yourself right now, or you're like at some point you realize that a tragedy or something difficult will come find you, and you're like, I don't have the infrastructure, the support, it's time to start putting yourself in a position where you have the infrastructure and support, and seeking that out and having the relationships that you want to have in your life, that when that time comes, you feel stable and steady and sturdy and you have people to rely on.
I totally agree. That's a shift I've had in my life too, because I used to just want to control everything because of my anxiety, and hitting rock bottom and learning the lesson that I actually don't have any control. And it's like the harder I tried to control in life, the more life would throw me the curveballs. And then once I surrendered and understood, look, I've got to detach from the need to control and the outcome, and just be present in the moment. And I think a lot of it too is not letting the past weigh you down, and not putting all your mental energy into the future. It's learning to breathe through the hard moments and really ground yourself. And get out of your head. We live in the space, and we never drop into the body, right?
Oh, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think also, like, if you can find a way to be okay with the bad feelings, like I don't love the bad feelings, but I can tolerate them and understand them.
Well, they deserve honor.
Right.
You have to
It's like,
honor those feelings.
yes. And so I can feel badly about something. I can feel disappointed about something. I can feel sad about something. I can feel whatever. I think one of the things that is interesting to me, I'm kind of going to go on a different tangent, but I think it still applies, is like one of the big things that we often say, Kennedy will recognize this, is like, sometimes no answer is the answer.
Yeah.
And I think in my 20s, I would just be like, I got to force the answer. Like, should I go get a new job? Should I enroll in an MBA? Why won't this guy text me back? And like, I would try to force through what I needed.
Same.
And at some point, and maybe it was just like owning a business or something just would reveal itself in the fact that, like, if I can't make the decision, or there's no right path revealing itself, it means I shouldn't make the decision right now, and that I should wait. And no answer is the answer.
Well, you have to read everything like a sign of direction, right? And so, like, when something isn't in alignment for you, and it's not the path you're supposed to take, whether a guy, goes you or whatever, like, that's not a reflection of who you are. It's your path redirecting you into where you're supposed to be and who you're supposed to become. And so when you start to look at every hurdle or obstacle as this is protection, literal divine protection, this isn't my path, I need to go this way instead, it really helps you to sort of, that acceptance you mentioned earlier, like get to that acceptance and honor that and be like, okay, not for me, going this way now.
Right. Or it's like Francie gets a diagnosis and you're like, okay, I'm supposed to be here.
Yeah.
So like, if I'm supposed to be here, then like, I guess I should do something good with it, right? Or at least try.
There's something to learn from it.
And if it needs to get redirected, then I will follow wherever I'm supposed to go, but I'm not going to attach myself to an outcome. I'm not going to attach myself to a deep feeling. I'm not going to attach myself to whatever. I'm going to go, and I'm going to worry less.
Yeah. What do you think Francie has taught you about life?
I think the Francie experience has taught me that I have no control, and that's okay. Yeah. And I just need to be free of that. And I think it's also taught me that miracles exist. I think it's also taught me that I have a choice about how I respond in the world. I think if you're talking about Francie in herself as a person, I think she has shown more grit, resilience, and fortitude than most fully grown adults in her 2.5 years of life. And so that's always been that's an inspiration for me. Like I used to hate getting my blood drawn. And after the 2 miscarriages, I kind of, you get a lot of reps in because they're doing a lot of blood work. And I got less afraid of it. But if you watch Francie walk in to get her blood drawn at the Children's Hospital, she sits down in the chair and she just puts her arm out. And like, here is one of humanity's most feared moments, right? It's this moment of like, I don't like needles and I don't like this process. And she just rolls her sleeve up and hands him her arm.
Total badass.
And and you're just like, oh, if she can do it, I can do it, right? And isn't that just a model for everything? Yeah. Like I like that about her. She's a punchy little girl. She's got big opinions. She's going to do something very interesting in the world. And I'm very curious to see where it goes. But I think she has taught me a lot of lessons about life and fortitude and grace and kindness and empathy. I mean, every lesson in the book, but on a very deep level.
That definitely has big plans for Francie.
Yeah, I think so too.
For sure. So I know that you are big into giving back to several causes and you're very involved in like volunteerism. Where is that born from?
I think my mom, more than likely. I That's the thing that makes the most sense to me when I look back. I think volunteerism is on the decline in America, which makes me very sad. I think it is a pillar of a good. It's an example and a pillar of a good human being, is somebody that is in touch with that aspect of their life. And I know there are phases of life, whether it's time is talent is treasure. All of those can combine into volunteerism in my mind, and it's just a matter of what season of life you're in, what formula you're in, where you're able to give in a moment. And so for me, volunteerism has always been a cornerstone of my existence, and it goes back to probably looking at my mom as an example. She was my Sunday schools teacher, she was my Girl Scout leader, she volunteered on the board of my soccer club for many years. She was involved with my schools. And so I think I had a great example in her in saying, hey, if you do this, make this a cornerstone of your life, then I think you always kind of end up coming from a real humbling place in knowing there's all kinds of people in this world that we can help serve. And you can tailor that to the things that excite you and where you want to spend your time. And maybe it's you're in a season of life where you're coaching soccer teams, right? Maybe you're in a season of life where you're in the soup kitchen because that's interesting to you. And I know that that's interesting to people here at Wonderist. Right now, I am in a chapter of life where we spend a lot of time and effort with the San Diego County Dental Foundation, which is a organization that was on the board with for 9 years, and they work to help veterans who are recovering from homelessness and drug addiction get the dental care they need in the San Diego community, which is a very veteran. We're in a military town, so a lot of veterans here. And then right now we're also spending a lot of time working with Rady Children's and doing a lot of stuff with Francie. And so Francie gets to be front and center in a lot of great initiatives in our community to help them raise funds and awareness for incredible causes. And so that's been a lot of fun. And I think at this juncture, it's a little bit of time, it's a little bit of talent, it's a little bit of treasure. And so we try to have a mix of all three of those things in our life at any given time, whether that's services that we can offer our volunteer partners that we work with at Wonderist, whether that's showing up for events, whether that's donating at events, whether that's creating an infrastructure to donate on a monthly basis. All of those things are very much wired into our family. And I want to make sure our children see that, and that they know that there's all kinds of people in the world and that they can help serve all the people that they choose to help with the initiatives that are important to them.
So I love the time, talent, treasure. I've never heard that.
Really?
No, that's genius.
I'm on my podium talking about that.
I love that because there's been times financially in my life where I just haven't had the ability, and you do feel a little like you're not serving.
Sure.
Right? In some ways, even like tidings at church or whatever. And I think back to like my days on the PTA. I was a stay-at-home mom. I would strap Connor to my chest and I would go up there and I'd make copies for the teachers or help the kids with arts and crafts and stuff. And it was very, very rewarding for me. And I loved that my kids got to see me involved in the community that supports them, me serving that community, right? And it just teaches them so much. So that's beautiful. And the fact that you're involved in the heart clinic now, that empathy that I know you say that you're not an empathetic person. I disagree strongly, but the empathy that it takes to know, okay, I went through this storm and I want to help other people get through that storm. That's the learning that comes from that hardship, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I love how your mom has inspired you that way. That's beautiful too. So you're adopted.
I am.
Okay. I don't know much about that story.
Okay.
Catch me up.
Sure. So I am the product of a young one night stand, I guess. And my biological mom was 16, my birth father was 19. And I think she sought out prenatal care quite far down the pipeline. So I think, which is just like, I know both my biological mother and my biological father. My biological mom, I guess, was playing varsity volleyball and varsity softball, 7 months pregnant.
Wow.
And had not told anybody that she was pregnant, as I understand, although I have to imagine it had to have been visible to some extent. I don't know. I've never seen any pictures. But that's like, I get that. Like, she just kept on keep it on. I don't know. She's a very lovely woman. She has 4 other children besides me. I'm in touch with one of them fairly regularly. He's the youngest, and he just popped back into my life. The last time I saw him was when he was 14, and he is now 31.
I love it.
And so just this last year, he and I have reconnected, and he's delightful. Came out here to visit over the summer, which was very cool. And then my biological father remarried shortly after I was born, or he married shortly after I was born to a woman named Anna, and they are very deeply involved in our life. And so I have another 3 half siblings through them. And we're all very close. So there's about to be 11 grandkids on that side. And so our kids have some wonderful cousins that they get to see when they go home to Wisconsin, and we get to spend a lot of time together. And then Mark and Anna come out to visit here and visit the kids a couple times a year. We go home, we see them. So it's honestly, I think most adopted people do not get an opportunity to have a relationship with their biological family
Right.
in a closed adoption scenario, which
Yeah.
I was a closed adoption scenario. I sought them out when I was 21 years old, and they had both left their files open. So I was able to reach out to them when I turned 21,
Wow.
and they both responded, and that was amazing. And so it's been a long journey. It's been 20 years of knowing them, or 19 years of knowing them at this point, and it's been awesome. I wouldn't have it any other way.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
What sparked you reaching out?
I always knew I would. I've always known I was adopted. I don't remember not knowing, though my parents will tell you that they told me in kindergarten. It was one of my first days of school, and I was telling them that another boy in my class was adopted from Mexico, and they said, "Well, you're adopted." And I was like, "But I'm not from Mexico." And they were like,
But the map isn't mapping.
yeah, and they were like, "That's correct, but you are from Milwaukee, which is where they lived." And so I didn't really react much to it. And I think we were at like the pub in our local town that we always enjoyed going to, Trysting Place, and so I think I didn't think much of it. I didn't say much more about it. And then that weekend there was like a family birthday party, and apparently I had walked up to most people, all my aunts and uncles, and my grandparents, and I said, "I'm adopted," and they were like, "We do." I was like, "Do you still love me?" And they were like, "We do." And that was it. So I don't remember any of that. I always remember knowing. And then I think I always knew, because I grew up an only child. I always knew I wanted to know what was out there. I think my parents have done a wonderful job raising me, but I think I'm very different than both of them. And so I've always had a curiosity about where I've come from, and if I had siblings, and who do you look like, and nature versus nurture. And so I always knew that I would pursue it if they would be interested in pursuing knowing me. And so it's been a really fun journey. And I spend the most time with my biological father, and I would say we are quite alike personality wise.
I have a half sister who's older that I didn't know. She found me when I was 18.
Oh,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
For your mom or your dad?
My dad.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
Did your dad know?
Yeah.
Okay.
They just never told me.
Oh.
Yeah. So she found me when I was 18, and she and I probably have the closest bond. Isn't that wild? Like,
what did your dad say? Was he just like, "Oh, I just didn't like it. We didn't know if it'd be relevant, and so we didn't say anything"?
He wasn't really in her life.
Okay.
And so I don't think he saw a need.
Okay.
There was a need, clearly, but everything happens for a reason. And to be honest, she's been such a gift to me, right? Like, and you're talking about the gift of like opening your family to all these people. That is so beautiful. And the kids having their cousins, and she has a daughter now, are their cousins, and they all spend time together. And it's really a beautiful thing. I have such surreal feelings and moments when I visit them, and the kids and I go visit them, because it's just like, this could have never existed.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, God. Like, that healing needed to happen, that bonding needed to happen, and the nature versus nurture component is so wild to me, because
it is.
We have the same laugh. That bold, audacious laugh. Chelsea was like, we always know when Nicole's in the office because of the laugh, right? She has that, and I remember hearing her laugh for the first time and like getting the chills, right? And then she's got kind of a raspy voice like me. She's super spiritual like me. She's woo-woo. She's got her feet in the grass in the backyard, just like me. And so it's just wild, because although I didn't grow up with her, she's the most like me. Mm-hmm. It's just really wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same thing.
Same thing. Yeah. So very cool. Were you scared when you reached out to them?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it was a Wednesday. I remember it was a Wednesday. you put the documentation in the mail and they make you do like a competency essay and like put all this stuff together. And then it was a month had maybe passed since my dad went and put it in the mail for me. And I got a phone call. I was about to walk into advertising class in college, and I got a phone call, and it was Milwaukee, so I answered because I had a hunch that they'd be calling soon. I said, "Hi, is this Laura Maly?" "Yes, it is." And they're like, "This is the Milwaukee County, whatever." I don't know who it was. And they were like, "Do you have a moment to speak?" I was like, "I do," right? And you have to know, like, Wisconsin was a double or nothing state at that point. And so I don't know if it still is today, but basically if one parent said no and the other said yes, you got neither. So both had to be open. And
That's
so,
interesting.
yeah, which makes sense because they just give up the other person, right? It's
That's
like, oh,
true,
well, there's
that's
your dad or
true.
here's your mom.
Okay, yeah, that.
And so I ran to I had a professor that I was really close with, and I ran to his office, and I like went in there and I closed the door and I was like on the phone. I'm writing everything down because I want to be able to go Google it. And like, this was kind of in the earlier-ish days of the internet.
Yeah.
This is 2006, I think, 2005. And so he walks in and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing in here, right? What are you doing in here?" He's like mad at me. I was like, "Shut up, shut up, shut up." And so I put it on speakerphone, and he like figured out very quick who I was talking to because he kind of knew I was pursuing this. And so I got all the information, wrote it all down, and then he and I sat at his computer and we just started Googling, and we must have sat there for 2-3 hours. And by the end of it, I had all the information I needed to make phone calls that night. And so I found my sister's photo bucket account. And so like I knew I had two brothers. I knew I had a half sister. I knew that Mark was remarried. I knew, or I keep saying remarried. He's just his only marriage. He's gonna be like, "Laura, what the hell? What is this?" And so I knew he had married Anna, and so I had a whole lay of the land, which I think they tried to carry out about afterwards. We're like, "Why you put our whole life on the internet?" And so I was able to discern and kind of know what I was going into before I called. So I called him and I said, "Hi, is this Mark?" I probably shouldn't give everybody's name out.
Yeah.
"Is this Mark?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, my little brother answered the phone and said, "Is Mark available?" He said, "Yes." Put him on the phone and said, "Hi, my name is Laura Maly, and I think you may know Jody." And he's like, "I do." And I said, "I think I'm the product of you guys." And he will dispute this, but it is true. You heard him go,
Oh, he'd been waiting. He'd been waiting.
"Hang on a second." And then he picked up the phone and he goes, "So where you been all this time?" And then that was just sort of the beginning of it. And it was a very sweet call. And they had, he obviously wanted to talk to Anna about it. Anna knew about me and was like, "When she shows up, we'll embrace her, of course," which is just the most Anna thing to say because she's wonderful. And so they had to tell the kids at that point, because if I hadn't shown up, there probably wasn't a need for them to know, which I totally get. And then took them a week. They went to visit my sister at college and slid a picture across the room for my 21st birthday. And they're like, "You have a half sister." And so she was like super excited. She was starting her freshman year in college, I believe. And so it took like a week or so for them to tell all the kids and do it in the way that they felt would honor the situation, and then followed back up. And then we kind of kept in touch, and I immediately got along with Carrie, and we talked and talked and talked, and we still are close today. See everybody all the time. And so that's been just like the best gift ever, like that you would have never expected. And my biological mom, she was a little tougher to figure out because she had been married and had changed some last names. And by the end of the night, I had found her. And it turned
You
out
worked so fast. I mean, I already knew this about you, but dang.
it turned out I called her. I had her husband's cell phone, who's just the loveliest. And I called him, and I said, "Hi, is Jody available?" And he said, "Yes." "Who is this?" And I said, "Well, I think I'm her biological daughter." And he was like, "No." I was like, "Yes." And he was like, "How do I know you're telling the truth?" And he and I went back and forth for a second, and he was like, okay. Yeah, hold on one second. And it turned out she was I don't know if anybody remembers this. She's very spiritual. She's very into like other worlds and realms and stuff. And she was at a John Edwards event in Minneapolis looking for me. But because he's like a
medium.
yes. And for some reason she thought that I had died. I don't know why.
We'd get along.
And so she was like, "You got to be kidding me that I'm at this John Edwards event. He didn't pick me today, but you called." So it was kind of a crazy, like,
Energy works like that.
right? And that's so weird.
Wild.
And so that was kind of a fun way to splash in with her. And I would say we're certainly in touch, but probably not as in touch as I am with Mark and Anna and their children. So my biological father and his family. And then there's just all these little fun ties. So my biological father, so my aunt and uncle, live on the same lake as Michael's parents.
Wow.
And it's a small lake. So it's just fun. Like we'll go home in the summer next month and like we're going to take the boat from Michael's parents' house across the lake to the 4th of July parade or the 4th of July party at my aunt and uncle's. And it's just like awesome.
Yeah.
And so Michael is also adopted. His biological parents, he knows they ended up getting married and having 2 full-blood siblings or 2 full-blood children 12 years after Michael.
Wow.
And so you met Trent,
Yeah.
who walked in here earlier. So he's Michael's youngest brother and then his sister Julia. And so it's just been such a gift to have like we have four families that we get to have and love in our life.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. So like non-negotiable daily fundamentals for me have changed my life.
Okay.
Among other things, but that's been a huge pillar of like my transformation and really being able to heal. And I know we talked a little bit about you also have like a half-hour daily routine.
I do.
Yeah. So tell me a little about like what are the things that when you carry the amount of weight that women like us carry, what are the things that help you stay in touch with yourself, that inner voice kind of keep you that self-love component? What do you do to pour back into yourself when you pour so much out into the world?
Well, I have a very steadfast morning routine that I wake. I feel silly telling you this, but I will. I wake up. I do 1 line a day journaling, and I've done that for a decade. It is a habit my yoga teachers put me in.
Okay.
Jean Heileman put me in that ages ago, and I have kept it. I have a stack of journals, and it's nothing fancy. It's just a couple sentences a day. I don't overcommit myself because if I do, then I get upset at myself when I don't. You didn't write like a whole paragraph today. And sometimes it's as simple as like you'll see 3 days in a row and be like, I got a great night's sleep last night. I'm like, yay me. And so it's not anything like innovative or like deeply reflective. And sometimes it is when I have the time or I have the emotions to put. But most days it's just something simple that I'm grateful for. Then I do a devotional. I'm doing a Timothy Keller devotional right now that I work through every day. Then after that, I do my red light mask, 3 minutes on my face, 3 minutes on my neck. Then I do my depuffing wand on my eyes.
Mm-hmm. It's all working well for you.
Then I do my red light hat for all my 40 years of hair loss that are happening all at once. Then I do my vitamins. I do element. And then when I do my element, I do seed, which is a probiotic.
Oh, okay.
Makes poop good.
Okay.
Then I do collagen. And then I do these vitamins that are prescribed, or not prescribed, but like formulated based off of my blood work. And I do those every 6 months. I reformulate every 6 months. And then I do creatine gummies, which has been a game changer for brain fog.
Yeah. I just started those as well.
Unreal.
The powder, my friend Jen, she's a nutritionist.
Okay.
And she developed a line of nutrition.
Oh,
yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah. I'm going to have her on, I think, as well. But yeah, she got me onto the creatine and it has given me energy.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, and then I get on the vibration plate for 10 minutes and do this weird red light laser that I have that's a secondary laser. And then at night, well, I try to, after work, go 15-minute walk.
Okay.
Just around the block.
Good.
To transition from like work to kids.
Yes.
And then before bed, I have a sauna blanket. The thing I would love more than anything, but I can't get myself to get is a red light sauna or a traditional sauna. I really, really want one. I know I would use it, but I just can't put myself over the edge to make the purchase. And so I got a sauna blanket instead, which is like a sad second, but I really like it.
Okay.
And so I sit in that for 20 minutes. It's like a sleeping bag that heats up.
Okay.
And it makes you sweat. And then I jump in the shower. I read a book for maybe 15, 20 minutes, usually something very light. And then I stretch a little bit. And then I get in bed. I have a little sleep spray and a little lavender roller. And then the thing that drives everyone nuts is I tape my mouth shut. But if you're in dentistry, you have to.
Wait, what?
Oh, well, I'm a mouth breather and I don't want to be a mouth breather. And so
I'm not a mouth breather.
oxidize better through your nose than your mouth. And so I tape my mouth shut every night. So I'm forced to breathe through my nose. And it's a game changer on my sleep quality and on just so many things.
Interesting.
Yeah. So there you go. There's my habits.
Yeah, I love it. And it's
And
all
super
serving
detailed.
you well. You are glowing like you're in
Super
your
detailed.
20s. So I think you're doing a good job.
Thank you.
Yes. I want to talk to you about, like, I know you and Michael are partners and you built this together. You mentioned that you both kind of serve different components of the business, right? And bring different strengths to the table. But outside of what he contributes to Wonderist, what do you think it means to have a truly supportive partner in your life when you are a driven woman and you kind of have so much on your plate?
He is the consummate equal partner, I will say. And I think we both balance it very well. But it's taken a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of communication and a lot of irritating moments. He's a very empathetic person and he's a very thoughtful person. And those are two amazing qualities to have in a man. And I would say he's probably one of the
Rare,
most
very rare.
stable, steady, intuitive people I know. And so he's just an incredible anchor. And then he just doesn't mind getting his hands dirty. Like he doesn't mind doing a lot of stuff that I think is just not intuitive or easy in a household for a dynamic couple. And so he does all of our cooking. I'm useless in the kitchen. And I don't prefer it, but he's excellent at it and enjoys it.
But you lay a perfect tablescape.
I am the tablescaper and the
You are the
florist.
queen of tablescape.
I am the queen of tablescaping. I do
Yeah.
love doing it. And then like we kind of have our own aspects. Like I think a lot of people think about a work-life balance, right? Or some sort of equality. And I think I just look at our whole life as one whole life as opposed to like work and then home. It's all one and it's all kind of messy and together for us. And so if I look at it that way, I'm the workhorse in some areas and he's the workhorse in other areas. And I think we're largely okay with that. And then I think we have a lot of crossover. And so, I travel much more than he does, and he stays home with the kids. And guess what? They're all alive, they're all fed, they're all amazing, and they've had a great weekend. It's not like I come home to chaos. I come home to a house that's been maintained, and he's just awesome at that. And he's great about it. And so I would say just in terms of work, he's running more as the CEO these days. He's doing all of the team management except for partnerships and HR and office management. Those are my three realms. And then I cross over into little areas and I do I do some of the finance. And so, we both cross over into other areas and I may have input on something that is on a team he's managing or I may need to reach out. And so there's like a lot of cross collaboration, but largely he runs the day-to-day of the business and I carve out my little niche. And then I'm running a lot of the operations at home and making sure that everybody gets where they need to go and that all the permission slips are signed and that all the logistics are in place and all the calendaring is happening.
Job.
Yeah. And the laundry gets done and
Yeah.
somebody pukes in the bed and you got to send the sheets through and whatever it is. And so, so they're both valuable in very different ways.
Yeah.
And they both are their own like beast of burden, right?
Yeah.
It all comes with its own stuff. And then I think at night we collectively do kind of a day of like a dump of the day. Like,
Oh, okay.
how would your meetings go? What did you do? Anything interesting? Okay. How was home? How was everything? How are the kids? And then we kind of go from there and then formulate the next day's plan.
How do you set like the delineation? So it's like your teammates in
Mhm.
the office.
Yeah.
And then like when you cross that threshold at home, you got to leave that at the door, right? How does that work?
It is a rare occasion that I'll be like, it didn't always work well. Like it's definitely we've had so many seasons and some are better than others, but I think generally speaking, it just lands pretty well. I think we're just inherently ourselves all the time. I don't think there's a lot of pretense. And so
It's not like you're having to shapeshift. Right?
yeah. And so and he knows like what my rough edges are and I know what his rough edges are. And so it's like, if we can just move around those and like give a little grace and kindness and like assume positive intent, then I think we're largely okay.
I aspire to that big time.
No.
Yeah. So with the kids, how do you incorporate them into the business? Do you much? Do you?
Oh
like,
yeah.
make
They're
them-
here all the time.
Yeah, mine are too.
Yeah. They're here all the time. So Francie was here yesterday because her nanny was sick. And so we had a all agency meeting in the morning. And so I was like, well, I guess you got to come to work with me. So she just sat and like ate Oreos and watched iPad and she looked at, because the thing that I think people don't necessarily realize is like my kids are very entrenched with everyone here. So Kennedy works here and Kennedy is their former nanny and Tatiana works here and she's at our house and goes to church with us and is hanging out with the kids on the weekends. And then both my brother-in-laws work here. And there's people here that I've known since I was 14 that work here. So like there's a lot of like ties in, or, Jojo and Forrest and Garrett are on the road with my kids when I bring the kids. So they all know them, and we'll spend holidays with people. And so they're very entrenched in life here. And I think it's always hilarious when they walk up the stairs and like, Kennewy, or like, that's Kennedy's nickname, Kennewy or Tati. And so they get so excited to see everybody. And yesterday, it's a long-winded way of me getting to where I was going to go, which is we were sitting yesterday, and we kind of have our fun side that we orchestrate, and it looks, put all the chairs and everything else so that we can have a group meeting. And Mark, my brother-in-law, was sitting next to Francie in the chair, and Francie's kind of like got her legs swinging, and she's so happy, and she looks at Mark and she goes, "It's like we're in a classroom." And it was so cute. And Mark's like, "Yeah, girl." It was like it was so cute. And so they're just very at home here. They come to all the parties. They come to the Halloween parties. They see everybody on the road. They'll come chit chat with Lucy or Sarah or whoever. And it's very like sweet and earnest. And I think everybody likes having them around, and they're pretty silly. So
it's the same for me. Like my kids, if they come to the office, they'll run up and hug everybody that they know and attend all our parties. And I think it's so important in showcasing them, one, how to build something meaningful, what it means to lead, and that you don't have to choose between family and work. Like you can balance the two together in a beautiful harmony.
Yeah.
I mentioned multiple times, like I adore you as a person. I think you're a really special person. And one of the things that sort of solidified that for me is I was in the darkest time of my life last year on my birthday. And I remember sitting at my birthday dinner with my mom and my kids, and I was doing the forceful mask wearing of just for the kids. Act happy for the kids, act celebratory for the kids. But inside I was dead. I was dying. I was lost and dark. And my phone buzzes when we're at the table, and I pick it up and it's you. And I opened the text and you said, "Hey, Nicole, I'm sitting here with Lynn at a conference and we're just chatting about you and how much we love you and how special we think you are. And I just want you to know that you're a badass and you're doing amazing things in this world, and don't give up." I fully believe that was God, like using you to send me that message. I needed it. And at the time we weren't like as close as we are now, but you just vulnerably and empathetically.
I didn't say I'm not empathetic. It's not my go-to.
Empathetically reached out to me because you just probably knew that I needed it. And I think more people need to do that, right? Like you don't ever know what someone's going through, and you didn't know all the details, but you knew enough to know I probably needed a friend or a nudge. And it really was pivotal for me. Especially coming from somebody who told you, like, you didn't even know me, but I admired you, and so coming full circle to that moment for me was really special. And so, yeah, it was just, thank you for being who you are.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It makes me feel good. Yeah. I did not know that you were at dinner with your family.
Yeah. And it like changed the whole temperament for me in that moment.
Good.
I was like, I'm going to be okay.
Good.
Well,
I'm glad.
Yeah. Thank you.
How far we've come, huh?
Yes. Wow. In just a year.
I love it.
Crazy how that happens. Yeah. So we've covered a lot of ground today.
Yeah.
You have been through ups and downs, miracles. It's really spectacular. Who do you think you're becoming now?
I think I'm just trying to ride the wave that I'm on. I think I'm a firm believer in at-bats gets you better and better and better. And so I think right now I'm just in a refinement period where I'm like, how can I improve on the things that I'm already doing? I feel like I'm in a really steady, stable space right now. I feel like our life and livelihood is something I'm very happy with, our marriage and with our family and with the friendships and all of those things. And so now it's the incremental gains. It's like, how do I continue to push on the incremental gains to continue improving my life and the quality of life for the people who support us in our life? That's probably, I would say, the best.
Beautiful. It's almost like you reach that pinnacle and you're like, now I can turn around and help everyone else.
Yeah.
Right? You definitely are that person. If you could go back and say something to yourself when you were like maybe early 20s, what would you tell that girl?
I'd tell her to worry a hell of a lot less. A hell of a lot less.
Same.
Yeah. You have too much worry, too much anxiety. Just show up, keep getting the reps in, keep looking at yourself in the mirror and making the improvements as you can. It's not an overnight journey. Take what you can and make your changes, and you'll get where you need to go.
Absolutely. perfectly said. Okay, so music is a huge part of my life. I love music. I'm not a musical person at all. I can't play an instrument, and my singing
Me
would
either.
kill you. But I feel music like it's an experience for me. Is there a song for you that maybe represents your journey, even with Francie stuff or just overall, a song that really resonates with you?
Um, I have a couple.
Okay.
If you want me to say general in life, I will say I'll give you my dental at like my on deck song,
Okay.
which is Eminem's Not Afraid.
Oh, can you flow?
No,
You can't drop a beat?
no,
Oh,
no, no.
darn.
But I enjoy it. Um, and so that's probably like just a motivating song for me, like a watch
you
me
hyped.
song.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I would say the song that has most, there's kind of two songs that have gone with the Francie journey. One, there was a chapter of a lot of uncertainty, and I was getting up very early in the morning, and I would put the same song on repeat, which is Jewel Hands.
Oh my gosh,
If I
that's one of mine.
if I
That's
could
one of
tell the
mine.
world just one thing, it would be that we're all okay, not to worry, because worry is wasteful and useless in times like these.
Yes.
I will not be left idle. I will not idle in despair. I'll wrap myself in my faith because light is the darkness. Light is the
What the
darkness when
darkness
it's
most fears. I listened to this
And
song yesterday.
and it's one of my favorite
Crazy.
songs. I listen to it
Yeah.
all the time. That got me from Francie's birth to her open heart surgery, and then after her open heart surgery, I would say kind of Francie calls it her baby song. It's my baby song.
Yeah.
Is Hillsong Oceans,
Oh, good. Also,
which is
very,
like
very good
which is
song.
a big song for
And
us.
hands to me, like I think about Jewel, I'm like, she was a woman before her time.
Oh yeah,
Like she's talking about where we're at
Oh, yeah.
today in life, you know?
Her biography is exceptional.
I've never read it.
It's exceptional.
Okay. I'll have to read that for sure. It's so funny.
Wait, is it if somebody writes it, it's an autobiography about themselves? Right?
Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
It's her autobiography
Self-biography.
she wrote.
Yeah. Funny. I listened to that yesterday and it just really hit. So that's funny that that's one of yours. I love it. Thank you for sharing. Well, Laura, this has been amazing. I am just, again, just and so inspired by you. And I think a lot of other people listening today will be as well. I know these are vulnerable stories. It's not easy sometimes to let this stuff out, but I think it's really important to inspire other people. So thank you.
Thank you. And I feel very similar about you.
Well, bye, guys.